And the next Kamen Rider's name is...
Shodo!
Alright, as always, I'm your host of Frozen Stratos, and today we actually have a very packed news video because not only do we have the Kamen Rider Candy Toy News blog, we also have the Sentai Candy Toy News blog. We're talking Yudo! Finally! And on top of that, we had some other Yudo news trickle out throughout the week. But before all of that, we have to talk about the brand new trademarks for Kamen Rider Revice. Now, this is it. This is all we have name-wise. There's no other riders announced with it, because that's just not how this works. But the new show, the new series, will be called Kamen Rider Revice, and it sounds cool. Don't know what else to say other than it has a cool name. But that's not the only thing that was trademarked at the same time, because Toei, you know, while Revice was going on, also trademarked this stylized version, logo-ish something, of the word Henshin. You can read it there, stylized Katakana. So, I don't know what this could be. It might not even be toy related. This could be like, I don't know, some shoes or something, or like some clothes. I have no clue, but you know, we'll keep our eyes on it. Hopefully we will be following up on this in the future, but that's not it for... It would be generous to call these leaks, just more information, and this information actually was brought to my attention by Peacemaker2448 on our Discord, on our Candy Toy Corner Discord, so check that out if you would like. But what he has for us is another... Once again, I hesitate to call this a leak, but, you know, this image here saying that, hey, there's these new candy toy items for 2021, and there are going to be 12 characters labeled A to L, I believe, and they're going to cost 400 yen. Now, this was a text that went along with it. They labeled each one of these things as a separate character, but I am inclined to believe, and I talked to Matt Hunt on this, and I'm pretty sure that this is Shodo, even though they denote each box as a separate character rather than part. Because, I mean, there are a few reasons, actually. I went ahead and translated some of this information here, and, you know, right off the bat it just says, 2021, New Boys Lactor, first release of the Refood Movable Fur, is a figure that is attractive for perfection and various bozing beyond the range of candy toys. 1. Look, this is very strange, esoteric wording here, but what caught my eye is movable, figure is attractive for perfection and various, what I assume is posing and not bozing, beyond the range of candy toys. That just sounds like some Shodo boasting to me. That sounds like what Shodo would say about their own stuff a lot of the time, and on top of that, even though they denote each one of those boxes as a different character, the last time we saw a vague listing like this was at the start of Zenkaiger and when that stuff was coming out. And they denoted each box of the mini-plot as separate characters like this, characters A, B, C, D, and E, and it did not mean that each of those ended up being different characters. Also, like I said, the prices line up for that to be Shodo. So I think what we saw there is our very first look at, I guess, the wave for Shodo Revice. Whatever that is going to be, it's maybe going to be 12 boxes, but they did say that was subject to change. Anyway, that is it for Revice and all the evidence and stuff I've found around that. Let's now move in to the Kamen Rider Candy Toy blog. Now, we're going to be covering some figures that we have seen here before, but we have not seen them fully in person. But I will make sure to give you sort of the highlights of this blog. So first up, let's talk about Kiwami, and he looks incredible. We said it last week, but we were going to be talking about, or at least starting our discussions of the final, you know, Gaim wave for retail. And this is the back shot of him, but what I want to talk about is the unstickered version, because here he is, all shimmery and all silver. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Even the blacks are picked out here. Most of this is gonna be painted. I mean, all of this so far is painted. The only silver I see here that is unpainted, probably the backs of the hands, and then also the little side pieces for the lock seed holders. Outside of that, everything is silver here. Take a look at the back. It is fully covered. There is no skimping out here on the paint. Now, why? That's a good question. Why are we getting something this decadent at retail? Well, it actually started out because of this guy. When D-Man was working on Kiwami, he was very scared and trying to figure out how they were going to reproduce the silver, and then he looked over to his friend next door, G-Man, just right beside him, and he was playing with a color sample of Dragonic Knight, and when he saw the paint on Dragonic Knight, he was like, ooh man, I gotta have that. I gotta make sure Kiwami looks almost exactly like that. And to his credit, you know, this figure, if you have this in hand, you'll know that the back is completely unpainted. So Kiwami is taking it a step further and giving us the full silver paint job. Either way, that shows the sort of synergy they have there together, and I'm very happy to see and hear about that, especially since one so readily influences the other. Anyway, the next thing we want to talk about here is the sticker detail. Now, you have the major ones. Obviously, the eye is going to get covered in stickers. What they were talking about here is that they actually went back and forth with the manufacturer to get the look of the sticker correct, just so that, you know, there were multiple patterns that they wanted to try on the eyes until finally they landed here. And I do like the way it's not just like a gradient, right? It's like interstitial points that, like, I don't want to say fade away, but like each color gets smaller instead of fading. And I really love that look, and it like transitions into the next color without just blanket fading. Anyway, we also have the sticker on the chest. It's looking a little bit rough, and it is just the one sticker, so I don't know how that's all gonna play out. I also think it's like stickered a little bit too high. This is a pre-production sticker though, mind you, so this is probably not how it's gonna look once we have it in hand, or rather it might look different once we get it in hand. Anyway, obviously we have a brand new belt that is fully remolded and has the proper sticker detail. Love it. Let's take a look at the back now, because we have some swiveling going on. Now, if you know me, if you've heard me talk about the original Kiwami Gaim Arms action figure, you'll know that my favorite cape, my favorite candy toy cape of all time, was from Kiwami. Now, this isn't exactly that cape, but I do really appreciate that it does have a lot of range of motion, and, you know, it has all the proper paint and all that stuff, so I am willing to give this one a pass. It's not as good, but it is pretty good. So I'm very excited to see what this is all about. Anyway, next up, we also have some brand new shoulders, some new molded shoulders, because Shodo Gaim or Shodo Chronicle Gaim does not work in the same way that the rest of Gaim does, because Gaim just doesn't have a spot to hold the shoulder pad. So what they needed to do was sort of adapt what they were doing before with some of the older Chronicle stuff. Here is Chronicle Double for comparison. So they needed to bring that shoulder mounting point, and what they did was they brought it in like right in the center of the shoulder, and it gives it a closer to the arm feel, something that they said closer to what 01 looks like. I don't know that they're necessarily referencing the Shodo figure though, and it, you know, leaves us with this very nice look, and I really appreciate it. Something else that I saw being discussed and that Malunis had brought to my attention was that, hey, is this figure going to be able to, you know, part swap with other characters? Are you going to be able to perform the form changing gimmick with this guy? Well, it seems like that there is some separation here in the chest armor, and this is the clearest picture of it. So My money is that, yeah, it'll probably be able to do the form-changing gimmick, but we did not get full confirmation either way, so just take my speculation with a grain of salt. Anyway, that is it for the shoulders. This is everything you're getting for the hand options. Like I said, you're going to be getting stickered hands. They don't look the greatest here, but like I said, these are pre-production stickers, so don't judge these too harshly. The other hands that you are going to be getting, or the other hand you're going to be getting, is a Lockseed holding hand for Kiwami. So that's really nice. A little bit of an upgrade set for the figure that came before it, but that's not the only thing about Kiwami, or at least that's not the only thing Kachidoki related in this vlog, because this figure comes with an extra copy of the Dai DJ Ju. So that's really cool. He can obviously hold the sword at both the end and the center, because that's what the original one was able to do, and then also just hold the gun one just fine. Anyway, that's not all though for accessories, because we do have 2 whole accessory packs to talk about, and this is extensive. There are so many weapons here. Everything I'm showing you right now, this is in the very first weapons pack. I'm not gonna like detail out all of these again, just know that it is all very, very impressive, and you are getting these in the first weapon pack. Now, the second weapon pack, this one is going to be coming with, you know, the weapons of the other riders, of course, that we have seen before, but it will also have these. Now, these may look familiar because you probably already have them or have already seen them, but they are slightly different because they didn't want to just reuse these and, you know, blatantly give you the same thing again just to fill out the box. What they did was slightly remold and slightly modify all of these for them to have extra lock seeds loaded into them. So these are, in effect, different molds and different accessories, and I really appreciate that they were able to give us like this breadth of items and accessories that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten, and some sort of options for other weapons with, you know, just final attacks happening with them. Anyway, that is it, I believe, for Chronicle Gaim. Next week, we will be taking a look at Chronicle Gaim for the last time for, you know, this wave. We're going to be taking a look at the rest of them. Anyway, oh, also, you can actually store all of these on the display stands and have him command them. Anyway, that's not all we saw in this vlog. We also saw Kamen Rider Ryuki for the very first time, and this is showing up super early, and he's not the only one showing up early. But I did want to talk about how proud they were about the eyes, because that is one of the biggest sticking points and one of the biggest things that they were trying to get right here. And like I said, it is a clear piece of plastic with paint on the front of it, the silver paint on the front of it, and red on the back of it to give you the compound eye look, to make it look like there were recessed eyes that you can see back there, and they are really happy with the results, and I gotta say, I am too. Now, the paint application does seem to be a bit wavy when it comes to the lines in the eyes, but I am willing to forgive it since this is a really early sample of this figure. But if you want to take a look at a sample that's even earlier along in production, let's take a look at Dragreder, because this thing is so not done yet that even the red they're still working on. This is not the final red that they'll be using, so do keep that in mind. They just wanted to have this out here because, hey, if we're gonna show off Ryuki, then Dragreder has to be there. So they made sure to order a factory sample of Ryuki, or of Dragreder here, and I couldn't be happier. He's also got a his backdrop for scale to show you just how massive this thing is. He recognized that like the pictures that were shown before were probably not going to show off how large it was actually going to be, since it was like in such a nebulous space, but this is truly huge. Here he is next to Ryuki, and I don't know, big, just really big. And also, there are the accessories that can clip onto him. Also, Ryuki, the sword that he's holding, is the one that comes with the Ryuki figure, not the Dragreder figure. Also, he does have the... I forgot which vent this was. I think it's Strike Vent. And then also just the two of them together. And like I said, they wanted to make sure to bring out Dragreder as well because he is so integral to Ryuki and to that rider. Make sure to get your pre-orders in because you have less than a month to get your pre-orders in for the premium Bandai items for the Ryuki set for this very first wave. So definitely go ahead and do that. Also, they ended the blog this week by saying, hey, next week, you know, alongside the Gaim stuff, we're going to be introducing a character that will, quote, make you want to smoke? And I assume they're talking about Sabella, right? Because, like, that would be a weird thing to say and or have translated to unless it was in reference to the person that turns into smoke. Because I don't want anyone else selling me drugs. Anyway, don't do drugs, kids. This is probably what we're going to be doing next week. We're probably going to be talking about Sabella next week. So look forward to that, hopefully. And hopefully her brother Durandal is not too far behind. Either way, that is it for the Kamen Rider Candy Toy blog this week. But we still got stuff to do. We still have Yudo. Finally, at long last. And now we have Murata, as usual, who is in charge of the Sentai Candy Toy stuff, who is here to tell us all about Yudo. And they first wanted to mention that, hey, we know that you guys might already have the Change Hero series, but there are some interesting things in this blog that maybe you'd like to check out, and maybe would convince you to buy these. And you know what? It's so interesting to me that they're even addressing this at all. I mean, it was the bare minimum, but they addressed that this is kind of like a similar enough line. Either way, there are stark differences, and I did want to dive into those. So let's do that. First of all, packaging-wise, obviously there are going to be some characters in here because what we had reported earlier, there are going to be certain characters here that take up 2 boxes. The ones that do have boxes that look like they should be together. That's something they wanted to note. This all looks very colorful and pretty. But on the back, they have a landscape picture this time instead, which, I don't know, I like it. It's beautiful. It's pretty. And it says, hey, 11 centimeters. So they're really streamlining the look of these. Anyway, enough about the boring boxes. Let's talk about the distribution. Like I said, each figure is either going to be coming in 1 box or 2 boxes. So Zenkaiger and Majin, separate 1 boxes. The rest of them, they're going to be 2 boxes per figure, and then also an accessory set. Now, usually they tell you at this point about the improvements that they've made with Yudo, but this year, I mean, yeah, there are improvements, but there were a lot of roadblocks in production that they really wanted to talk about. The first bit was molding. Now, you'll see here that the box is actually a little bigger this time. There's actually so much stuff in there now that I guess, you know, molding-wise, they had to put in there because a lot of these guys are massive. And that's not the only complication with the molding. It's because, Zenkaiger seems to be the only one that is the same at all, like, is the same mold at all. Now, obviously, Zenkaiger himself did get an upgrade in terms of colors because there are more, I guess, painted details on this figure than we had in Kira Major, but where we have some drawbacks are in the molding process. Like I said, any typical Sentai, you have basically 2 molds you need to make. Male mold, female mold, and then the heads just interspersed in between. But here, obviously, they couldn't do that. Everyone had to be a completely different mold, and that screwed a lot of things up. and not just that, even the ones that were almost exactly the same, they had some minor changes that they had to make sure to get across. So these are, like I've been saying, completely new molds across the board. There was no, I guess, shortcuts. There were no shortcuts here to take, which is wild. And on top of that, Zenkaiger himself did get some upgrades from shodo-x. They are taking, and what they called this was the Soto approach, or they took a page out of Sentai's book and made sure to like smooth out the elbows and knees to make it look a little more flush. Definitely appreciate that. It looks really good. Also, another thing about molding is sort of color separation, because something that they typically do is mold everything in one color and just let the painting and stickering take care of the rest. Well, Zenkaiger is different. It always wants to be different. So what they had to do, since there are so many other colors that these that the Zenkaiger go through, they had to separate the molds by color rather than each figure. So they can't just pour one color into one mold and get one thing out. You have to go into multiple molds and then like mix and match in between. Either way, we are left with a very diverse range of colors within each figure, because you got some blacks, you got some silvers, and you also have some base colors. Even Majin, they were almost going to mold her entirely in pink, but at the very last second, they negotiated with the manufacturer to put her arms in the silver mold, and we got an even more accurate look. So that's wild. Like, this is, you hear us talking about on this channel how figures in Soto, like say for instance Saber himself, the very first Saber figure, he's Saber, he's special, so we used like 2, 3, 4 different molded plastics, 4 different types of plastic on that one figure, but that's only a special occasion because it eats up a lot of budget. But every figure here, except for Zenkaiger, is molded in multiple colors. So that's wild. That's really cool, and I definitely appreciate that. It led to a very good look for each and every figure here, so I definitely appreciate it. The next thing that we should talk about is, I guess, what they wanted to discuss about accessories, because they noticed that, you know, for a typical Yudo buyer experience, if you purchase a figure, yeah, you definitely get the one figure per box, and that's really cool, except, well, they don't have their accessories and they don't have their alternate hands, so you lose out on a little bit of that play value. So, and they also noticed that the accessory boxes were harder to come by. So what they did this year was, instead of just packing in each figure, the standard figures that come 1 per box, each of them, Zenkaiger and Majin, they're going to be coming with their Geartlingers, and the figures that come 2 per box, or 1 for 2 boxes, those figures, Juron, Gaon, and Vroon, those guys are going to be coming with their Geartlingers and their sets of hands. So the rest of that stuff is going to be coming in the accessory set. And, you know, they wanted to make it give you an experience almost immediately for playing with your figure. Speaking of which, we did get a little bit of an articulation breakdown, because there's actually a lot more range of motion here than what you would think. Because they wanted to make these guys look and emote, you know, like they would in the show, something jovial for these characters. And obviously you can move that shoulder pad out of the way and get some very nice spread on the arms. You also have a very generous splits here, you know, helped out by the very deep, I guess, foot tilt, ankle tilt, and also the side skirts. So that's really cool. Another thing, you know, like I said, they wanted to make these guys look jovial, look fun, look emotive, and I think that comes across. Anyway, that is it for articulation. Let's talk about the accessories, the individual accessories, and you'll notice that these are all actually, you know, in their right colors. The only one that gets paint or sticker here is Juron's sword, but Gaon has painted claws, so that's really cool. They wanted to put that extra effort in. Also, you'll be able to mount his claw to his shoulder pad, to his forearm, or just put it in his hand. Majin has something similar where you can peg her staff into her hand in one of 3 pegs. It's either for, you know, holding like a wand or doing some flight poses with, if that is an option that you are interested in. Here's, you know, just a standard Majin wielding her wand hand. Anyway, the other comparison they wanted to make is that these weapons, Vroon and Juron's shield, these are actually bigger than the mini Plot. But then that leads us to the final part of the blog, where they say, hey, mini Plot, you know it, you have it, that's plastic. You know what else is plastic? These Yudo figures. You can put those plastics together and create this strange combination of the mini Plot and the Yudo legs. Just the legs. And they even say in certain pictures like this, the pegs don't even go all the way in. They aren't even sitting all the way in correctly. But you can kind of pull this off if you want. You'll also be able to transform them if you want. Majin and Vroon can do this if you want. What a strange and very boring way to end this blog, but they did it. This looks, well, it's unique. They said it themselves. It is unique to Yudo and mini Plot. So if this is what you want to do, I'm not gonna stop you. Hey, that's not it though. They did also say that this is probably what they're gonna be talking about next week, so that's really cool. But that's not it for just Yudo in general, because we did actually have Yudo 2 listings. Now, these came from Amiami. Both Josh Perry and Matt Hunt let me know that these had become available, and this does have some information here. Gonna be 4750 yen, at least on Mandarake, or on Amiami, but the 5940 might be more accurate to, I don't know, typical. It's the same price as it typically is. But it does have this little description here. It's coming out in September, so make sure to take note of that. The pre-orders are right now, so if you wanted to pre-order them, go ahead and do that instead of, you know, waiting till September. Also, it is a box of 12 and assorted according to the maker's rate from 9 types. What that means is we're getting 9 boxes, just like we did earlier with the other Zenkaiger stuff. So what could this mean? What could we be getting? Obviously, we're going to be getting 2 Kaiser. It's up in the air whether 2 Kaiser's forms are going to be form changes or if they're going to be their own separate figures, because the Change Hero series did the figures, or did the changing gimmick, while I feel like Yudo would do just plain figures, just on their own. So if you're counting with me, that is about 3 figures, if you are going by this metric. Also, we typically get the mooks from this year, so I feel like we might be getting these guys here as well. And a precedent they set last year was that, hey, we're doing Garza, and you know, Garza's counterpart right now is Stay Caesar, so I feel like Stay Caesar is a good contender for this line. So that brings us up to 5 figures, and I would love to get a Stay Caesar because not even Change Hero did that one. Anyway, so that gives us 5 figures so far. We also have 2 yet unknown power-ups that we haven't seen any sort of images of. I'm not going to be talking about them too extensively due to spoilers, but just know that there are 2 spots that in September might be relevant, so I believe those 2 potential forms or figures will take up those last 2 spots, or those other 2 spots, so that brings us up to 7. And then also an accessory set, so that brings us up to 8 out of 9. Now what could that last box be? Well, we've known that Yudo is not above repacking just an old leader figure, like just the leader figure, but again. And I get that. They could definitely do that, especially since he's more prominent this year. But last year, they didn't repack Red in the second wave. So I'm wondering, like, we have the room, if they wanted to do Zenkai Red. Please do Zenkai Red. I would like it. A lot of people would be very happy. And also, it's interesting to note that his actor said that that might not be the last for the Zenkai Red story. We also have information coming out next weekend about a brand new TTFC project that they're gonna do. It's not going to be Rider. It might be Sentai. It may not be Zenkai Red though, but it could be. And I would like more Zenkai Red stuff. Either way, I just want this last figure to be Zenkai Red, and I do believe that this is it for my slides. Yes! Yes, we are done! That is it for the news. Thank you so much for sitting through all that. It's been a half hour, well over half an hour. So thank you for sitting here with me and discussing the news. Tell me in the comments down below which one you think is your favorite, what you are most excited about. How do you think you pronounce Revise? Is it Revise or Revice? Because I think it's Revice. But you could say Revice. I don't know, man. It's whatever you want to do. Thank you so much for watching. Also, there's some links to some Zenkaiger merch in the description down below if you enjoy that show and enjoy this content. Also, there are links to how you can help support the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as the hashtag Stop Anti-Asian Hate. All that description down below, as well as all the news that you heard just now, and some pre-order links if I was able to get to those in time. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it.